In our couples devotional today, we are going to talk about conversation starters. I don't know about you, but I find in my own marriage and in my time of counseling with other couples that oftentimes couples get stuck talking about their issues, especially if it's certain issues that keep coming up time and time again, whether it's agreeing on parenting or in-law issues or finances. And so oftentimes you just kind of get stuck. You need a new way of talking about it. You might feel frustrated by the lack of movement or direction. You're never moving in a positive direction. You're never going anywhere. So I thought it might be good to give you guys a few suggestions that might help kickstart the conversation for you. And these are taken from brief therapy, which is a technique in therapy out there, a theory that is based on that counseling doesn't need to be years and years, that you can accomplish quite a bit in just a few sessions. And the reason is because they're very future focused. Their idea is to get you looking at your issue and then looking at what you can do to change it for tomorrow. And it has some really good practical things that I thought might be good to give to you. So the first one is the idea of the miracle question. And so what the miracle question is, you would ask your spouse, if you prayed for a miracle in our marriage, or if you prayed for a miracle in our finances, what things would be different? What would you notice? If you woke up the next morning and the miracle had happened, what would be different? What would you notice about it? And again, the issue being that you're looking at it and hearing behaviorally some things that would look different. It could just really help put it in a different context as a couple, as you're talking about something that you otherwise have had a hard time resolving, that the miracle question might give you some new information of what your spouse would highlight. Well, if I knew a miracle happened, we would have X amount of money in the bank account every month. Okay, at least that gives you a direction. You could start talking about how you could save. Or if it's on parenting, that the miracle would be that we actually talked about strategies for parenting or came up with a plan of action every week for the kids. Again, that miracle question is giving you some information with which to do something. The other important question that they often use in brief therapy is the idea of the scaling question. So you would say, rate your spouse on a scale of 1 to 10 in any area of the relationship. And then the key question is, what could they do to earn one number higher on the scale? So if you gave your spouse a 7 on communication and your husband or your wife said to you, okay, what would be different if I could move from a 7 to an 8? And you would give a couple of examples. Well, you would actually use active listening skills and you could repeat back what you heard. Again, getting some information from your spouse that if you behaviorally were doing this or that, it would help move in a positive direction for your spouse to feel like you're listening to them, you care about them, and you want to meet their needs. So here's a couple things I just want to highlight. What do you notice about those two questions? Why do you think the miracle question, the scaling question could be effective? Well, the first thing is, like I said about brief therapy, it's future focused, which really is a biblical concept, the idea of looking forward and not backward. So let's look at Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 through 15, where Paul says, "But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus." Now, again, he isn't specifically talking about marriage here, but the idea is that we stop looking behind and we strain towards what is ahead. And what's useful in counseling or in your marriage is that instead of just looking at the past and just always being drudged down by the past, that you could actually say, let's forget how we've done it before. I mean, we can learn from our history, but what could we do differently moving in the future? And that really is just a biblical concept that'll go well for you. And then the second thing is it provides information that turns to immediate action. The good news is you're going to have some great suggestions from your spouse, from their answers, from the miracle question or the scaling question. And you could actually implement some behavioral change right away. So use these two questions this week. I really challenge you. Pay attention to what your spouse has to say and look for ways to put it into action.